Hey guys, welcome back to Black Girls Build 2. In today's video, I will be tackling our pantry. So we don't have a very large space to work with, but I think with a little work, I can make the best use of the space we have and make it look a whole lot better. So stick around to see what I do to transform this pantry. So to start off this project, I'm clearing everything out of the pantry and removing all of the wire racks so that I can get a clear space so I can use painter's tape to visualize my plan for the pantry. Okay, so I did a very rough tape job so I can get an idea for how much space we're working with and what I'm able to do. So as you can see, I've taped out a number of shelves that are taking us a lot higher than what we had before. And then I'm planning to do a countertop type situation at the bottom with some shelves on both sides, and I may even put drawers in the middle. I haven't decided yet, but as you can see, this is a space that the wood is going to take up. Okay, so anytime I do anything that's going to be built in, I do the same process. So after I removed the baseboards, I went in with 2x4s and put them all the way around, as you can see where those baseboards were. And then I put a 1x4 right in front of the 2x4. So this is going to create a nice platform for the plywood to sit on so I can start building the shelves and the cabinet space. Okay, right now I'm getting ready to install the shelves. Originally I was going to do 2 shelves and divide this section into 3, but I feel like we'll lose a lot of space that way. So instead I'm just going to do 1 shelf all the way across. I have run into some difficulties because the walls aren't straight, and so the boards are having to bow a little bit for me to get the shelves in there. I did get this one installed, but I think I need to lower it just a little bit so it is level. But I'm going to be adding pocket holes into the side, and then we're just going to install the shelf going all the way across, and then I'm going to conceal those pocket holes so that you won't be able to see them once I paint this. Alright, so I have the shelves in, and they are nowhere near perfect. The boards are not completely straight. So what I'm going to do is try to create the illusion that everything is perfectly straight and level by building my face frame that way. So what I've done is I've dry fitted this bottom board, which is a 1x2 select pine board, and I've already cut all my vertical boards. So I'm going to be marking on here where I'll be pocket holing this, because I'm going to build out the entire face frame with pocket holes and then nail it into these boards. But I need to make sure that the boards are going to be placed in the perfect position so that we create the illusion of perfection. Since I'm still learning, I'm still making mistakes, but that's okay. We can cover mistakes up and you'll never know they existed. So right now I just need to map out how the face frame needs to be assembled and get it put together, and then we'll attach it and this bottom cabinet will be done. Okay, so I did get the face frame fully assembled, and I went through with some wood filler on the seams, and then I sanded it really good with a 60 grit sandpaper, and then I did a 150 and T20 to get a smooth finish. I also went through and plugged the pocket holes on the inside, and I caulked all the seams. So I'm ready to get this installed. So what I'll be doing is putting wood glue on this wood, and then I'll be using my brad nailer to nail everything in place. Once that's done, I'll caulk some more seams and get the countertop put on, and then I can start working on the upper shelves. Okay, I'm going to attempt to create a countertop by combining 2 of these sheets of plywood. So these are 3/4 inch sheets of plywood. So I think it's going to make a nice thick countertop, and then I will cover the raw edge with a 1x2. So all I'm going to do is just apply some wood glue and clamp it down, and then I know I'm going to have to sand the ends to get it to fit into the pantry because it's going to be a really tight fit. inside. So I've already dry fitted and it's a very tight fit, but I don't want to sand any more off of it because I don't want to leave too big a gap. So what I'm going to do is just wood glue on top of the wood that's in there and then put this in there using my mallet. I think that that's going to be all I needed. We shouldn't move because of how tight it is, so there should be no need to screw anything into it, I hope. Another tip to remember is to go through and fill all your nail holes with wood filler and caulk all your seams. This will give you the best finish when it's time to paint. Now that we have the bottom part of the pantry done and that countertop installed, it's time to move on to the upper shelves that are going to hold most of the items in this pantry. So my goal with this part is to make sure that this thing is going to be structurally sound and that it'll be able to hold all the weight of any items that we put up there. So to do so, I'm going to build the entire structure outside of the pantry, which is going to be tricky, and I'm hoping I can get it back in. But doing that is going to allow me to make sure that everything is perfectly aligned. So my first step is I cut the two sides to length. So these are 50-inch boards using my birch plywood. And then I'm going to go in and use pocket holes, wood glue, and my nail gun to install all the shelves into place. And so once you see how that's going to come together, it's going to make a lot of sense. I also have plans to stain this part of the pantry, so I want all of the wood tone to stay as consistent as possible throughout the build of these upper shelves. Okay, so ideally I wanted to build this entire structure outside of the pantry just to make sure everything was aligned perfectly and then put it in there. So I actually did attempt that process and got most of it built out, and then I could not get it inside the pantry. Again, this pantry is only 2 foot by 3 feet, so it was not possible to do that. So now I'm going to have to build it inside the pantry, and I'm just hoping that it's going to be aligned perfectly because, as I said, with the bottom part of this pantry, the walls are really janky, so it's not even walls, and so I want to make sure that I get as tight as a seam as possible when I'm installing my shelves. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to apply this 1/4 inch sheet of plywood to the back wall using liquid nails and brad nails, and I'm doing that because my plan is to stain the entire upper part and keep all of this really pretty wood grain. So I want all of this to be wood toned. So that is what I'm getting ready to do now. Okay, next step is I'm going to be putting a 3/4 1/4-inch plywood on the walls, so both sides of these walls, and I'm going to pocket hold them into the countertop, and then I'm going to use brad nails to attach them to the wall. So I am going to be doubling this plywood, so once I get that one in, I'm going to wood glue and brad nail another piece of plywood to cover those pocket holes and also make it so that I can put the face frame on there. Okay, quick tip when I'm putting these boards in. So I did have these boards ripped at Lowe's and they are not perfectly the same size. So if I have to have a gap, I want the gap to be in the back so you won't be able to see it. But you want these boards to be as flush as possible because when you add your trim piece, you want that to be able to sit flat. You see how perfect that lines up? That is the goal. So now I'm getting ready to measure for the shelves so I can get those cut. So I will be doing 4 shelves. The first one will be 15 inches from the countertop, then 12 inches, and then 10 inches and 10 inches. So that should make sense as you see the process, but it's starting to look really good. So I just reached a point where I'm ready to cut my shelves. And so just in case you guys don't know, when you start to do these projects, what you'll realize is that most walls in your house are not straight. So what that means is when I took the measurement of the front opening for the shelf, I measured at 32.5 inches, but then when I took the measurement from the back opening, it was 32 2/8. So that is a huge difference. So in order for these shelves to go in with as minimum gap as possible, I'm going to have to cut them at an angle. So to do that, I went ahead and cut the greatest width, so the 32.5, and then I started to cut it at an angle using my jigsaw, and I'll show you guys exactly how I did that. All the shelves are officially in, and so now I'm going to cut my 1x2s to go on all of these edges to essentially create a face frame like we did at the bottom. So that will be the last step before I start on some of the finishing details. Okay, I have the 1x2s in on the side, and I just did the first shelf. So I want to let you know that the way that I'm doing the 1x2s is making it extremely flush with this shelf so that it's an opening at the bottom, because I will be adding some lights under here that I don't want to be visible. So as you can see, that looks really clean. Once all the boards are in place, I went through and filled all the nail holes and sanded everything down really well, and then primed so that I could paint. So I am using the color Urbane Bronze by Sherwin-Williams in a satin finish, and this is their emerald line, which I used in our laundry room, and it ended up looking really good. Instead of staining the wood, I ended up just putting 3 coats of polyurethane on, and I was pleased with the results. Thank you so much for watching. So all of the organizational items that I use can be found on the Amazon storefront, which is linked in the description below, along with all the materials that were used for this project. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And as always, be strong, be courageous, and go out and build some shit, because that look good. I did that. Bye, y'all.